I personally feel like if we would have known why the place was vacant, then we could have made a better decision. But what's up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. It has been so long since I've like sat down, recorded a video. Life has been so crazy. So as everyone know, I moved. So this is my new little setup. So far, so good. Living alone has its pros and cons, which is a video that I'll do later. But for today's video, I'm going to talk about how I found my apartment, some searching tips, things to pay attention to when searching for an apartment, especially here in Chicago, because that's where I live and that's where I search for apartments. But if you guys are interested in this video, keep watching. To start off, it is very important for you to find your budget that works for you and stick to it. So if your apartment budget is between $900 and $1,100, stick to that. If it's between $900 and $1,000, stick to that. It's very important to stick to that because one, you have to remember that you are the customer. Like at the end of the day, these people need you to rent out these apartments. And it was especially prominent like during COVID, like when COVID was really big and no one was wanting to do tours in person. And then a lot of people were like, well, we don't know how long this pandemic is gonna go for, so we're actually just gonna move back home. So it's important to remember that. So you set the price, you set the budget, stick to your budget, because at the end of the day, whether you don't get that apartment that you just dreamed of and it was the apartment of your dreams, there's one coming better. So for your budget, stick to it. You're gonna find something that's awesome. Number two, I do want to share some of the websites, some of the search criterias or like filters that I use to find my apartment. I enjoy living on the south side of Chicago just because I like to walk out of my house and see people that look like me. That's my personal opinion. I also like to be close to my family because I do still have family here. My sister and I, we live like 15 minutes away, so I still want to be close to her. And I want to be in an area that was just familiar to myself. So I'm gonna come back later and show some of the websites that I use, but personally I used a website called Domu, which Domu is, if I'm correct, it's a Chicago specific website to find apartments. There I set the neighborhood that I wanted to live in, I set my price range, and then I set it to between studios to 1 bedrooms. And so from there I toured a couple. Some I didn't put on my channel just because obviously one that I toured I'm living in now. Websites like Domu are really great, apartments.com. Sorry, I have my notes here, so I'm looking so I don't get anything mixed up. But Zillow, I know my sister recently told me about Maroon Marketplace, which Maroon is a newspaper, a student-ran newspaper at the University of Chicago, and basically they created a marketplace where you can sell items, you can place your apartment there if you're moving out of your apartment, or if you're looking for an apartment, if you're coming to Chicago for the University of Chicago, you can search there. So I'm gonna come back later and show some of those websites and how I search on those websites. Alright, so next, it is very important to pay attention to every single detail. For example, if you are messaging a leasing agent, or if you're purchasing someone's property, if you're messaging a landlord, it's important to pay attention to how they respond to you. Like with the time, like if they're quick and efficient, if they're professional, because honestly, that's going to be the foundation of how your lease is going to go. For example, the last place that my sister and I and our old roommate lived in, the man that like showed us the apartment, we didn't see him. Like we heard of him and we got the apartment and we never heard of him since. And he was also very, very unprofessional, which was like the guidebook of how our entire nearly 4 years was there. So it's very important to pay attention to every detail. If you're going to go tour in person, it's important to pay attention to who's coming in and out of the building. You want to like be vigilant with that, because it's your safety. Like, you're paying for your safety. You don't want to walk into an apartment building and you see people hanging out on the front, or if you walk in, you see like rodents or rats, or like you see things. Like, for example, you go in and you're touring an empty apartment, but the empty apartment that you're touring isn't clean. Then it's like, okay, I'm coming to see this apartment. Why isn't it clean? Like, why am I touring a dirty apartment? That kind of like sets the foundation for how your lease is gonna go, for lack of better words. Also, when finding an apartment, it's really good to let people know. Like, I know some people are very private and don't want people in their business, but personally, when I was shopping around for an apartment, I let a couple people know that were close to me, like, hey, I'm looking for an apartment. This is my criteria, this is my budget. If you see anything that I don't see, or if you hear anything that I don't hear, please like send it my way. Now, you don't have to tell everybody, because some things everybody doesn't have to know, but the few close people that you do trust, it's really good to let them know, like, hey, I'm moving and I would like for you to keep me in mind. Yeah, so that kind of ties into like finding an apartment, which is I know a lot of people who are realtors, and I knew that I wasn't necessarily ready to purchase yet, so I was like, let me hit up my realtor friends. They're not really friends, they're like mentors. I don't know, they're like really older, but I was like, let me hit them up, let them know that I'm looking for an apartment, and they would like send me apartments, or send me things that I would possibly be interested in based on my criteria, which was neighborhood, price, parking. Neighborhood, price, and parking, because I was not about to be walking 3 blocks to my house. Especially not at night. But also, when talking to a realtor about an apartment, you could either get a management company, or you can get a landlord who, for example, purchases a condo and they're renting out their condo. So it could be either or. Personally now, so I've been living in Chicago for about 7 years now, and each apartment that I've had has been from a management company. And this is actually my first apartment renting from a landlord, from someone that owns this condo. And honestly, I love it. My landlord is the sweetest person I've ever met. Anytime I need help with anything, or I'm unsure of anything, like I think I didn't know how to get a laundry card. I was like, hey, like, can you help me get a laundry card? She was like, yep, I'll be there in 15 minutes to come help you. Also, when getting my apartment, it was very important for me to know why the tenants before me moved out. The place that I lived in before, horrible. Like, the people upstairs were so loud, the people downstairs were banging the broom, the walls were so thin. They were people that didn't even live in the building, coming in and out all through the night. I had one neighbor, well, 2 neighbors who were a couple. They were in a relationship, and they would fight, like physically. They would fight all night. They would fight all night in the courtyard, and I hated that. I personally feel like if we would have known why the place was vacant, then we could have made a better decision. But for this place, I definitely asked my landlord. I was like, why did the person leave before me? And she told me, she was like, actually, the man that lived here before lived here for over 10 years, and he just decided he was ready to purchase. And I was like, that makes me happy, because not to be stagnant in an apartment, but also that this is a place where it can be my transition point. Like, extremely quiet. I hear nothing. It's like extremely quiet, and something that's a good segue into home ownership. Okay, so next, when I was searching for an apartment that also may be helpful when finding an apartment. I know some people that may watch this video don't live in Chicago, but if you have the opportunity to do so. I used to live in the Hyde Park neighborhood, and once our lease was ending, I was like, maybe I want to stay in Hyde Park. So what I would do is when I was walking my dog, I would walk around the neighborhood and just look at some apartments and look at their little label and see the management company. And then I would write it in my phone, and then I would go home and look up the management company and see what available units they had, because some management companies you can't find on apartments.com, or you can't find them on Zillow, or they're just, you know, like a word of mouth type of company, I guess. But that was also really helpful. I did find a really nice apartment that I really wanted that was down the street from my old apartment, but the thing is, people in that apartment complex never moved out. So it was like, okay, that's a good thing that people aren't moving out, but also it's like, dang, give somebody else a chance to live there. So I didn't end up living there, obviously, but that was also something that was really helpful, just like driving around, walking around, just looking at the management company signs on each apartment building, and then looking it up later just to see if they had anything available, or just to see, like, you know, what I thought of the management company. I also forgot to mention that Facebook Marketplace is a great place too. A couple places that I toured, I know friends sent it to me via Facebook Marketplace, and they were awesome, but also just like kind of too far north because I kind of like to stay south, like I said before. So yeah, let's get into the screen share video of me showing you guys how I would search for an apartment. Alright, so I'm on Google and I'm looking up Chicago Maroon Marketplace, which I explained before is the like marketplace for University of Chicago students. If you're looking to live in the Hyde Park area, this is where you'll find like some apartments for rent, or you'll find some rooms for rent, or you can put your room for rent if you're looking to do that. So you have to log in with Facebook, and then I just switched to another I just ended this and then I logged on to Facebook so that we can see what we can see. Okay, so I logged in with Facebook, and as you can see, I see this one bedroom right here for $875, which isn't a bad price. So I'm gonna click on it and see what it's talking about. I don't like that it doesn't have many pictures, so that's something that I would kind of be skeptical of. So now I'm just gonna keep searching and seeing what I can find. This one I like much better just because it has more pictures. It has a, like, not accurate description, but the description is very thorough. And this is something I'd be like, okay, I'd check this out and see. I'm heading over to Facebook Marketplace, and I'm just gonna go down to the property rental section and then just kind of browse and see what's going on here. When I'm searching for apartments in Chicago on Facebook Marketplace, you just have to be very cautious because, like, as you see, there's a lot of sponsored posts. So you just have to make sure you're choosing not a sponsored post, because those typically are the ones that are doing bad sometimes. I just set my maximum to 1100 because that was my budget. And I'm just seeing some really nice things. Also, when searching for an apartment in Chicago, I set the mile radius to 2 miles because it is searching from 2 miles from the city center. So that's important to do that. So it depends on how far you want to live from the city center. So I chose 2 miles just to see like what was around the area. So I stopped to look at the studio because I really like how big it is. I also really like how it separates the kitchen with that wall. This would be something that I would go for, but kind of looking outside of the windows, it's pretty dark. So I don't know if they took these pictures when it was dark or if this is a garden apartment. So I would just be wary about that.